This week, we're sailing from Provincetown to Gloucester through the waters of the Stellwagen Bank National Marine Sanctuary, the summer home to 3 major whale species, humpback, fin, and Minke. We are keeping our eyes peeled and our fingers crossed for a whale sighting. While conservation is now a priority, there is a long history of whaling in this area, Nantucket in particular. We paid a visit to the Whaling Museum while in Nantucket to learn about this storied past, and our arrival in Gloucester makes us one step closer to our ultimate destination this season, the Maine coast. I'm Kristen, this is Fabio, and this is our dog Yoda. We sold our home last year and moved aboard our Seawind 1600 catamaran Wanderlust. Over the past year, we've sailed the waters of South Florida, the Keys, and the Bahamas, shaking down our new boat. We're now setting off on our journey to harbors unknown, exploring the world and connecting with people and places through the local cuisine. Subscribe now to join our voyage. We'll be at the Annapolis Boat Show in October, so if you're planning to attend, let us know in the comment section. We'd love to meet you. Be sure to use promo code HarborUnknown2021 for $5 off admission. The waters in this area are part of the Stellwagen Bank National Marine Sanctuary, an 842 square mile area 25 miles west of Boston, 3 miles north of Provincetown, and 3 miles south of Gloucester. Ongoing research in the sanctuary provides data on the underwater behavior of whales to aid in mitigation of issues primarily related to human-induced underwater noise.
I think this is a whale watch boat.
The World Wildlife Fund has even named it one of the top 10 whale watching sites in the world.
There it is! There it is! Wow. Yeah. Oh! Oh, there's 2. Oh, wow. Oh, look. Incredible. Wow. Oh, wow, look. Oh my goodness, you're gonna see his tail!
Yep.
Oh. Wow! That was just incredible!
Majestic animals. That's what I can say. Unbelievable. They're just like spectacular.
I know. It was so beautiful. I was really hoping to see whales in this water here. It's a marine sanctuary, and I read that it's a big migratory place for whales during the summer. And it was kind of crazy because the whale watching boat was like kind of cut us off and
almost ran us over.
Fabio was like, what is this guy doing? And I think that's a whale watching boat. And sure enough, we saw whales spouting, and it was just so beautiful. what a treat, especially after this morning, seeing the seals.
Yeah. Thank you, whales. Thank you. It was great.
It was.
Whaling has a long history in this area, and in particular Nantucket. We visited the Whaling Museum while we were in Nantucket to learn all about it.
So to think about, on a whaling ship, you have 5 whale boats that go on the pursuit of the hunt. This isn't a real whale boat out of New Bedford, but you just see the length and the size. Yeah. They had a room for a mast, if you see there.
Yeah.
Nantucket whaleboats did not. They didn't think
just
it was necessary. Those are the tripods that I told you about, where they would boil down the blubber. That would take 3 to 5 days out at sea. It looked like a ship burning in hell almost, and if you could imagine the smell, if you were at the wharf, you could smell a ship trying out a whale from 30 miles away. So that's all the way to Cape Cod.
And the fuel to boil the blubber, they use blubber?
Oh yes, they would cook the whale, they cook it with itself. You know, they first start the fire with wood and a flint, a spark, and then you put in the what they call Bible leaves, which is, there's an example of those. Looks like the pages of a Bible. The cutting process of the whale. First they'd mince it into large pieces and then keep cutting it, and it would, all the skin and the bone and the tissue would rise to the surface, and they'd skim it off with that skimmer that's hanging there, and then feed it into the fire. So in a whaleboat you have 6 men. You have the boat header in the stern, which is most likely an officer, a harpooner in the bow, and 4 sailors. They have to row what's called wood to black leather, get as close as they can to that whale. Then they harpoon it with the man, that's called the clumsy cleat, that half moon shape. It stings the whale, so then the whale gets excited and goes on what we call a Nantucket sleigh ride, and carries this whaleboat about 20 miles an hour. Then the boat header, the officer, and the harpooner switch positions, and then the boat header takes this lance and aims it for the vital organ. Then they attach the whale, and it probably would take about a mile an hour to get back to the mothership, and they could be, 5 miles away. So it's a long row ahead. Yeah, and then that just begins the hard work. Then you've got the cutting and the boiling and everything. This whale washed ashore in 1998 out in Sconset on Bar Beach. It is a juvenile. He is only 47 feet long. Wow. They could grow up to 60 feet in length. The head is a third the size of its body, so that's where that head case of 500 gallons of spermaceti come from. And sadly, we believe it was in distress. There's a broken tooth you can see in the lower jaw, so it was just an abscess tooth and the bacteria went into its system. This is the Hadwin and Barney candle factory, which dates to 1847. Okay. There was a great fire that burned down the entire town in 1846 because if you imagine, the streets are slick with whale oil, and a fire started in a hat shop on Main Street. They used a stovepipe to press the hats, the straw hats firm, set the whole town ablaze. So this was rebuilt afterwards. And this is just where all of the refining process of the finest oil of spermaceti, as well as the blubber of the sperm whale. They pour it into the casks to be stored in every nook and cranny of the ship, but all of the casks of oil had to come back to be refined even more. And this beam press works like a giant garlic press. So the owner of the candle factory would go down to the wharf, stick his finger in the oil, taste it, make sure it was the finest, put it in these burlap sacks, and there's a cistern down below, and they'd press it out. And there's 3 different seasons. The winter oil was the finest, is the first oil. They'd have to put it outside again, let it kind of solidify, and then press it again down for the spring, and then the summer. And Nantucket, which was a very Quaker-ruled town, and they're very frugal, they would keep the lowest grade of oil for themselves and export the finest all around the world. So, and this is, we believe, is the only beam press left in the world of its kind. And the spermaceti oil that's in that cab skull case, the head case, which lit the lighthouses because it didn't thin out the viscosities, incredible.
It's like a wax.
Yeah, exactly. It's liquid gold, and there's almost 500 gallons in the head of that sperm whale. That's why it's that giant square head. That's the oil from that whale's head.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you read the book, they describe how they would just open it,
Yeah.
send somebody inside the skull
Exactly.
and just take this big.
They'd send what they call the greenie, who is the lowest rank on the ladder of the whaling ship. Call him next, he probably got seasick early on.
Yeah.
And he'd have to strip down, jump in there, and bail it out with buckets. So it was life on a whaling ship. It's basically a floating factory at sea. It is tough, dirty work. The thing is, if the ship doesn't get a lot of oil, you make a percentage of the profit of the ship out at sea. It's called a lay.
Okay.
The men who own the ships take home 60%.
Oh, wow.
And then it's divided by rank. So if you're a greenie, you're making about 1/150th of a share.
Wow.
Rough labor.
Right, you have to be willing to, it's just an investment, right?
Yeah.
To work
Say
your
three
way up.
years.
You may
3 years
work
of
your
the-
way up
Right,
too if
right.
you're a Nantucketer.
Yep.
And the average trip was years, right? 2, 3 years?
3 to 5.
3 to
There was
5.
one voyage that left Nantucket for 11 years. So, I mean,
11 years.
or the men, they'd come home, be with their family for about 3 months, and then go back out to sea.
Wow.
So,
But actual, by the time that ship left Nantucket and it came back with a full load.
mostly 3 years,
Yeah.
I would say, is average. 3 to, yeah. The decline of whaling, there were a lot of factors. The gold rush brought people out to the island, but a big factor was that we're surrounded by sandy shoals. If you took the ferry in, you have to tack around the jetty, so the ships would wreck because they're weighed very heavy with oil. And so one of the methods they tried to kind of combat the issue was these camels, which actually come from Holland. The idea is they fill with water and kind of lift up the it's like a tow system. It lifts up the ship and tows it over the sandy shoals.
That's interesting.
And this is a model of the
Well,
camel.
this is, they still use those today nowadays to when do transport ships across, like a yacht that goes to Europe. They lower the boat that goes around top and then they float it up again.
Yeah.
Right?
A huge thank you to the Nantucket Whaling Museum and to Miranda for giving us an enlightening tour and sharing so much knowledge about Nantucket's history. Innumerable whales were sacrificed to illuminate homes, lighthouses, and streets in the 18th and 19th century and used as an ingredient in pharmaceuticals. Thankfully, whaling in this part of the world has been outlawed for many years, and conservation efforts to ensure a healthy population are a major priority.
So now we are headed to Gloucester. It was about 40 nautical miles from the beginning, like from Provincetown. And so we'll stop there for the night.
Yeah.
Our autopilot still is not working, so we're hand steering,
Foot steering, really.
foot steering. Well, when the winds are lower, but we just saw it was like 22 to 24 knots of wind, so the conditions have changed so quickly, really. It was 10 knots of wind when we first started out, and we had out the screecher, and then the winds picked up, so we pulled out the jib and furled the screecher, and so now we're going with the main and the jib. And
one engine running.
we have one engine running because we want to make it to Gloucester before dark, and we left late this morning because we went to see the seals.
And we spent quite a little bit of time chasing whales. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we did just spend like an hour probably.
Yeah.
It was worth it though.
My burdens left behind. I did not know what it would bring. Now I'm capable of everything.
we arrived in the Gloucester Harbor as golden hour approached. We were so thankful for the incredibly special day and the magnificent whales for gracing us with their presence. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, leave us a comment down below, and be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.